Well, good morning. And
Good
hold on,
morning.
excuse me, I have got background noise going on here. So let me just turn that off so I don't get shouted at by the boss. Yeah, good morning. I'm back. Hey, back from my sabbatical from the northeast, where my mate to your left or my right looked after me very well during the game. And thank you very much. What an enjoyable day it was for all. Well, for me especially, after not being up there for 13 years, it was an amazing day. Loved every minute of it. But before we get into obviously what we saw live at the game, let's have a quick look at and do some housework, and then we'll crack on with a little bit of news that we've got today. So again, welcome everybody across all of the platforms. Thanks for everybody in the background, all the mods and all the people in the chat for obviously contributing and making this channel what it is. Don't forget to hit the like button at some point during your stay with us. Again, subscribe; it's totally free. Don't forget to hit that bell because it gives you obviously all of the upcoming features that we do. We do 7 days a week across the channel, and we've got a sister channel as well, Football Uncensored, and I believe we're going to be covering the international matches on that. So again, if you want to come and join us, again, feel free. Um, if you want to support the channel and help us grow, then please think about becoming a member. It's a small monthly fee, and that, like I say, just goes straight back into the channel, and it helps us. It helps us get out there, and we've got members only content, as well as obviously chance of winning prizes, and you can get involved in our predictions score, which I got correct this week, which is grand. Um, and like I say, we have got a web page if you want to have a quick look at that, NUFC talk.tv, and that's as up to date as we get it. And what we try and do with that is obviously we'll get the right source before we just go out there and put anything down. But like I say, it's totally ad free. We do it for the love of the job. And obviously, if you've got a question, put a Q in front of that question, and me and Win will do our best to answer it. And if we can't answer it there and then, we will definitely go and have a look and source the information for you. All memberships, all new memberships, gifted memberships will be highlighted and thanked as we go. And if you want to guarantee your chat to be mentioned, then please use the $sign, follow the instructions, and that will guarantee your question or your message read out live on the stream. So, how are you the day after, mate? Are you have you recovered now? Has your
Yeah,
your
I've
voice
just
got
about
back?
got my voice back. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, from all
it
that
was
shouting.
raspy. And in fact, we've got Beer in here saying Gary's voice has returned to normal.
I
I was
I know
cancelled Doc
it's
Martin.
really weird
Because when he
how I
was
can.
here yesterday, he was talking like this, you know.
I know it's really weird how I get told off every time I come. I come yem because I talk like a brummie, and then obviously my voice slowly gets. I see I'm talking because I'm thinking about it. I'm back to where I was before. It's really weird. I don't know what happens in my brain, but it just goes from one voice to another. Um, so yeah, yesterday, before we get into a little bit of news, we've got obviously me and Win were both in the East Stand. Win goes a little bit on the higher side than me. I was at ground level, and I was trying to work out what was happening to literally how Eddie set up his team, and it was very evident from the outset, watching the game, where he's deployed this system now where he doesn't go gung ho anymore. He doesn't push on. He doesn't want to give us. He doesn't want to give the opposition the space behind to get in behind us at all. Now, the one thing that I noticed yesterday was there was two errors for me across the team, and the one was Isaac wasn't strong enough to keep the ball to get us out of our own half at times. And Nick Pope had a really bad day yesterday. Now, like I said, watching the game live there to watching it on telly, you miss loads. You miss absolutely loads of the game. And I understand now where Win comes from when he talks about, oh, such and such had a really good game, or such and such had a bad game. And we're all going, what? I didn't see that. And yet yesterday it was obvious that I missed so much of the game, having watched it again. It was like watching the match from an entirely different angle this morning when I had a chance to have a look at it again. So from from that aspect, what I tried to do yesterday was concentrate on Eddie's system. Now I don't know whether this is trying to protect Kraft, because I thought Kraft had a really good game yesterday, um, or whether it's the way Eddie's now setting up, giving Kelly the left back position. And obviously, we've got a little bit of height there, where with Kraft, obviously, with him only being at 6 foot, does he think that we're going to be a bit more vulnerable at set pieces, things like that? So for me, it was a case of let's have a look. Um, Yesterday, what I noticed more than anything else was Kelly will squeeze. They all become narrow across the 18-yard box. And then you've got the likes of J7, who just slowly creeps into, not, I wouldn't say a left back position, but it's more of a left wing back position. And he covers any danger coming down that right hand side for Tottenham. Um, which what that does then is obviously it helps the likes of Harvey Barnes, who probably hasn't got the legs to keep going backwards and forwards. So for me, when Harvey Barnes starts, that's his first tactical setup. It's more of a fact that he doesn't want Harvey Barnes tracking all the way back. He wants to keep him as an outlet, which really didn't work that well yesterday because, like I say, Harvey Barnes is more of a reaction type player. He likes the ball at the feet. He doesn't like to go chasing after it unless there's space there for him to run into. Um, where obviously Anthony Gordon is the opposite. He likes the ball into the channels. He likes to use his pace and he likes to do it. But to be fair, again, as witnessed yesterday, Anthony Gordon is well off his best. Um, so yeah, there's definitely a tactical shift from how Eddie sets up with Kelly in the team compared to how he sets up when Hall's in the team. And there was I wouldn't say a Jekyll and Hyde because we didn't retain the ball very well yesterday. But just what me and Win we've just been talking about in the green room was how the difference between the two teams was we didn't have much possession. They had lots of possession, but all of the possession that they had wasn't really in anywhere that was going to hurt us. They very rarely seem to get behind us, apart from when we made mistakes. And Anthony Gordon, the one from Anthony Gordon, the one from Dan Burn, when they try and play this simple ball. Well, with Anthony Gordon, it was more he tried to do one of his turns and he lost it. And one of their players then had lots of space to run into, which put us on our back foot. Um, and Dan Burn then obviously got us out of danger. And when Dan Burn tried to square the ball, which was under hit, and then he managed to track back and get it. And so everybody had one or two bad times. But yesterday, I also saw the lads really come together as a team. Now, everybody says to me that the lads around me were all blaming Pope. um, there was a lot of heckling going on with Pope yesterday because one, he didn't call for one ball. There was a couple of times where the ball was coming. It looked like it was going over Kraft's head, and Kraft then had to head it rather than Pope just gathering it behind us. And their goal, well, which was the own goal. To me, there was no way on God's earth that Pope could not have gathered that when the shot come in at him. It wasn't a hard shot. It was into his chest, and what he tried to do was just push it away, and it didn't really go anywhere apart from, you know, to the player then who hooked it back across the 6 yard box. Well, I say 6 yard box. It was inside the 6 yard box where Pope managed to get his hand to it, which then pushed it into the path of Dan Burn running back towards his goal line with Son behind him. So Dan Burn had to try and get something on it. and unfortunately he kicked it into the roof of the net to give them the equaliser. That all come from our mistakes. So everybody who, I've listened to all the interviews, I've listened to a lot of supporters
Analysis.
chat, and we were at the game yesterday and saw it, and yeah, it was uncomfortable to watch at times. But when you look at the stats, and I'm going to do Newcastle's first: 2 goals, 3 shots on target, ball possession 34, 4 yellow cards. To Spurs, 1 goal, again 3 shots on target, ball possession of 66%, 4 yellow cards. So even though, like I said, they had retention of the ball, which has again been our problem from the start of the season, they had the ball in positions that they really didn't hurt us. And the shots
There's
that they were getting off.
Craig Lee coming right in behind you there. One team was effective, the other was a show pony.
It's true. Absolutely. And like I said, you can see, and it's all from Eddie Howe's tactic. It's about trying to keep the opposition away from our box. And it was squeezing them into the midfield. And sometimes when we started to move out, they then had to go all the way back to their keeper to start again. So a lot of their possession was around the middle of the park towards the 30-yard mark. And for them to get a shot off at goal, I mean, the only one that really bothered us was for the cheat himself, who tried to bend one into the top right-hand corner, where Pope managed to get his hands to it and push it over the bar. So for me, as much as it was negative, if you like, there was a lot of positives out there as well, because they never looked like scoring. Excuse me. They never looked like scoring until we got the own goal. What was your thoughts, having watched it again, Win, on the game,
Well,
being there live and then
my
watching it?
thoughts just confirm what I thought. I thought Dan Burn had an excellent game, with the exception of that one bad pass, which he was sort of helped to recover the situation himself that he'd created, and the own goal. And like you say, he's got a split-second decision to make. The ball's coming at him at a hell of a pace, and he knows he's got Son behind him. So what's he going to do? I mean, it was probably hard to get out the way of the ball anyway, to be honest.
No, absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
So I
mean,
couldn't
you got to think of
understand
the
all the
deflection.
negative. Well, other than the fact that there's always negativity about Burt.
Yeah.
So I couldn't understand it all, because I thought he was both him and Kraft had brilliant performances.
Yeah.
You were just saying earlier on there that Kraft's picked up a knock, and that could save Eddie a bit of a headache, because the way Kraft's played since he came in, yes, we'll miss Shear's ability to take the ball out and his occasional Hollywood pass, which Kraft hasn't got in his locker. But it would have been a bit of a headache deciding, who's going to start the next game, because Kraft certainly doesn't deserve to be dropped if you're going to base the decision on his performances whilst he's been in. And remember one of the greats of all time, Bill Shankly, his teams never used to get injured somehow, because they knew that if they were injured and somebody came in and did a job, that they would keep their shirt, and it didn't matter who you were. If you came in and did a job, you were rewarded for having done so. So if Kraft has picked up a bit of a knock, it gives Eddie kind of an easy out to say, well, we'll let you fully recover from that, because we don't want to repeat the last season with injuries, etc. So Shear comes back in, and then if Shear does well, he's got that same excuse to stand with. But it also showed yesterday, I think, what I've been saying as a happy clapper, as a glass half full merchant, that this squad is probably the best we've had, certainly since '95. When you looked at the starting 11 and you looked at the bench, yes, we can all agree we've had a shitty transfer window, but nonetheless, what we have got is pretty damn good as far as I'm concerned. And what it means now is that if we are there or thereabouts come January, which I expect us to be, and I'll be asking questions as much as the next man, if we aren't, then we've got that war chest just to boost the effort in the final straight, but to make sure that we do get where we want to be.
Absolutely.
And I think that could be a lot higher than most people. Everybody's, if you go around anywhere between sort of 10th and 6th or 7th is what most people are predicting. I think we're going to do better than that. And I think the fact that we've got 7 out of 9 so far, albeit not playing very well, is the sign of a good team. If you remember Arsenal at the start of last season, were getting results even though they were playing crap. And everybody at the time was saying, well, this is a good thing, because when you're picking up results, even though you're not playing well, just wait till you do start playing well, which is exactly what happened to Arsenal. So here's hoping.
Yeah. I mean, the first tactic I saw, like I said, because I was watching mainly the back four, because I wanted to try and work out what Eddie was doing and the way Eddie was planning the game. And after his interview, he point blankly says that he looks at every opposition and he builds a tactic to support the opposition or to try and nullify the opposition. What I saw yesterday from Tottenham was they looked at Kraft being potentially the weak link in the back four, and what I'm going to show you now, and when everybody out there says that Kieran Trippier has lost the love for this club, this lad didn't kick a ball for us yesterday, but you just have a look at this and see and tell me that there's no love from this lad, because this is what I saw from the side when he was literally giving the lads all of the encouragement from the sideline. Watch this. Apologies for the language in the background, guys. So you can see that the lad is trying to talk to Tino the entire time, and he's telling him where to work. And he's also giving Kraft a little bit of a chat. And every time the referee or the linesman look at him, as you can see here, he puts his hand behind him and he's like, oh, I'm not coaching from the side. And this is what he was like, literally. Every time the lad came off the bench to warm up, he was literally getting out there to tell the lads some advice on how to settle it down. And if I pull it down a little bit, you'll see here he'll call Tino over in a minute, and he'll just have a word in Tino's ear, just to tell him how to talk to Crafty to the side of him, and just explain to him what he needs to do. And Harvey Barnes, look, where to drop into. Because it was Barnes, unfortunately, that was leaving us wide open on the flank. But I thought that, like I said, for anybody out there that says this lad hasn't got any love for the club, I'm sorry, I disagree with that, because he didn't have to coach from the sidelines, but he did that constantly throughout the game yesterday. It's weird to still see or to still listen to a little bit of negativity, but I understand why people are negative because of the way we're playing. I don't necessarily go out there and condemn Eddie's way of playing. But I also understand while we've got a player that's not a right centre back playing, he needs support, and he's tried to get a system that literally frustrates the opposition, and you could see that yesterday. And obviously, there was a potential penalty for us. Um, there was everybody around by me was screaming for the penalty when Isaac was brought down
Yeah,
in
I
the
didn't think
box.
that was a penalty, but then
No, I didn't.
we had Jamie on from the. By the way, when Jamie was on from the mag last night, I did forget to mention go to the mag and read his match report. Always an excellent read as the mag. We'll get a lot of information from there. Great website to go to. But he seemed he was. I've looked at it a few times now, and I still don't think it was. I think a penalty would have been really harsh, to be fair. But
No.
it goes to prove that. Oh, I forget somebody else in the chat was saying that Ange. There you go. Ange Postecoglou claimed a strong St James's Park atmosphere helps Newcastle learn little decisions from the referee. Well, we definitely didn't get that decision, which if he had been swayed, if you like, we would have got, because there was a half a claim for a penalty anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I thought yesterday the crowd wasn't as loud as I expected it to be. There was times where, like when they had possession, it it was off and on. It was a bit quiet at times. It wasn't as raucous as it usually is. But again, that's because of the way Eddie's playing, and everybody's really tense and watching the game. So I suppose focused on what we do. But I mean, for me, I was so close to giving Kraft man of the match yesterday. But the one player that really, uh, I say, matched the same score for me with an 8 was J7, having two poor games recently, and then coming back to setting up the winner. And again, I have to say, well done to Jacob Murphy, because he could have gone on and shot himself, but unselfishly for the team to win, he squared the ball for Isaac, who, like I said, for me was again not great yesterday by any shadow of a doubt. Couldn't hold the ball up for us to get out. And like I say, the two worst players on the park. Well, I say two worst players on the park. That's probably giving them an injustice. But the lads that really didn't perform for me yesterday, apart from Anthony Gordon again, who was struggling and has seemed to struggle with his fitness since coming back from the Euros. Um, Let's have a look at what people are saying in the chat win.
I've started a good
And
few.
yeah, we've got a few down, haven't we? Before we go on, because like I said, the only bit of news that's come out from yesterday is Kraft having this minor knock. Um, Good morning, David, or good afternoon, wherever you're from, David Knight. Morning, guys. And all I'm currently happy to be at my work desk with my dinner and washing it down with some Daniel Levy tears. Very sweet. Um, yeah, it was strange. I mean, when I left the mighty win yesterday, I walked back up towards the ground, and there was a um, group of Tottenham players, fans at the side, round by the Irish quarter, and I had a chat with them and asked them how they felt, and they said, like, we had all the possession, but we didn't have anything up the top end. There was no killer bite. They didn't have any ideas of how to break us down, and that was obvious throughout the game, wasn't it? It was
Well,
lots of effort in
that's
front
yeah.
of
I think
goal.
if they'd had Solanke in that team yesterday, we would have got beat, or we would have had
Yeah,
to
yeah,
move up another gear or whatever. Oh, I don't know
yeah,
what.
yeah.
Oh, that's me. Right.
That's obviously the boss in the background. He's just saying about trolls, not
And
giving
I've
your
checked.
predictions.
I saw this early on, Jake. I've been scouring and I can't find it anywhere. Where have you got that news from? because as far as I'm aware, Holland and the Premier League were all on the January 30th window. So I don't see how that could have happened. And also, I've scoured everywhere and I can't see it.
I thought
So
loan
I'd be
deals
interested
can
to know
go.
where you got it from, Jake. I'm not saying you're wrong. I can't understand it for a couple of reasons.
It made me laugh, because I was talking about Madriog Pivos the other day, and I said, "Where's he gone?" Because I couldn't see head and a tail of him anywhere. And on one of like you got FB Ref, you've got SofaScore,
Yeah.
things like that. You put his name down, and next to it, it says retired. And I said it wouldn't surprise me the way our window's gone for him to have been retired. Craig
Here we go.
Lee.
Message for
Oh,
Trolls.
yeah, I've
Because
just said that.
Trolls, you never gave us your predictions last week. So unfortunately, you got 0 points. Please make sure you give your predictions by Thursday. Well, the day before the match. So make sure you've got your Fulham prediction in that's on the Sunday, isn't it? So by the Saturday at the latest, please, Trolls.
Yeah. You want to? I'm just going to have a quick scout for what he's just said there about Madriog.
Yeah.
If you want to carry on doing the.
Yeah. So Gregory Kraft and Burn can defend, but they're useless on the ball, making it hard to play out from the back. I thought Eddie may have started trips to compensate. Well, I did, in fact, suggest that on. And then what happens? The mighty win is proven to be an arse, as usual, and Tino gets virtually man of the match. What can I say?
Yeah, it's typical, isn't
Playing
it?
from the back with Bird and Kraft isn't working, but Sharjo back next week, so it should be much better. It didn't help how intense Spurs always are with 4 players pressing the defence. Fair point. Why you suddenly sound more Geordie, Gary? Says Kenzie.
Well, my accent's
And
going to
he's
be
been
here.
home.
Yeah, here and there. I tell you, because the family go mad at me when I talk. Because they, especially my missus is Polish. She cannot understand a word I say, so I have to try and mellow it. So if I'm all over the place today, I do apologise because I get nothing but bloody earache from the other half. According to what I've just seen here on Newcastle World, this was 11 hours ago. Newcastle United defender Midriog Pivos has joined Dutch side Willem II on a season-long loan. So there you go.
Well, there you go. So I'm still not quite sure how the mechanics of that work.
I think the loan deals can carry on doing it. It's because it's just they still belong to the club. I think it's only permanence, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that means we could still get somebody on loan.
I think
the game plan was to give up possession and counter them. And Trolls Burn could never clear. Oh, Burn could never clear that. He was way too close to the goal and he should have let it go and stand in the way. Well, we've already been through that now, I think. Yes, he's a good player, but I'm so pleased we didn't sign Madison. His ego is bigger than his talent. Yep. Craig Lee. We allowed them all the ball, 40 yards, passing it around with shots from different. Had them at arm's length all game, except for Pope's mistakes. Yeah, a bit harsh, but I don't see disharmony with the players, thankfully. The footage in the tunnel after the game proves it. Yeah, there were some great shots going back into the dressing room again. Kraft, £70 million saving.
Yeah, I suppose you can look at it that way, can't you?
Well, can you imagine if let's say we didn't have Kraft and we'd went out and spent, I don't know, 30 or 40 million pounds on a gay substitute, for want of a better expression. And that gay substitute had come in and given us the performances that Kraft's given us over the last couple of games. Everybody would be over the moon saying, what a master stroke, getting this kid in. What a fantastic player. But because he's there already and it's taken for granted and possibly overlooked.
Well, everybody was
because
saying at Palace.
I don't think I'm just like a broken record.
Yeah, all the Crystal Palace fans are saying that
to improve our squad, you've got to bring in top players.
They were saying that Gay had a really poor performance again. Again, is that another curveball that we've managed to clear?
You see, I've seen that. This is like what you say about your ex when she's chucked you. So, because I watched the whole 90 minutes of that, because I'd seen all this in the background about how Gay had a stinker. And I went and I watched the whole 90 minutes of Palace Chelsea. And he didn't have a stinker. He didn't have a worldie, but he didn't have a stinker.
No, I think it looks more clumsy than anything else, though, doesn't it? When you look at some of his, you know who he reminds me of a little bit. Having watched a lot of him this season, is Tino. Sometimes, as much as Tino is amazing, he does find the ball under his feet an awful number of times. Yesterday, he was absolute dynamite. Yesterday, I was literally in front of him, or I suppose to the side of him. During the second half, and the lad and the performance that he put up yesterday was outstanding. And like I said, I love it when he proves me wrong, because yesterday the ball was out of his feet. He had clear runs. He was able to beat their left winger with ease, and progress the ball comfortably into an attacking a mode of play. And I said that for me, sometimes he can just become a little bit awkward when the ball sits under his feet. And that to me is how Mark Gea has been since all the talk about him leaving Palace to us. He's not been perfect. Just while we're on it, and we've talked about it before you move on to the next one, just going on for what has been said. He's going to the Eredivisie side, Willem 2. Or Willem 2, whichever way you want it. And he's what he's put down, he's made a little comment, and he said, for my development, I mainly have to train and play minutes at the highest level. Willem 2 is known for giving young players a chance. I hope that I can gain experience here and then take that with me to my higher goal, playing in the Premier League. So that's positive. And then the Willem technical director, Tom Kalu, he's put down, we want to create a balance between experience and young talent. We have good contacts in England, and Miodrag came into the picture at our scouting. He is very talented defender who wants to gain experience at the highest level. We can help him with that and give our selection a quality boost across the board. So it looks like he's been welcomed from them too.
Yeah. So that is Miodrag Pivas. Kraft and Burn, excellent game. Some of Burn's blocks and tackles were so important. Great 3 points. And now I'm looking forward to this one because, Craig, we have VAR here. And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I saw some comments when the transfer window closed from a certain Craig Lee saying would be lucky to finish top 10. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. If that wasn't you, I apologise, but I just seem to recall having a bit to and fro in the comments with Craig Lee, and now all of a sudden you fancy us for top 4. I could be wrong. If I am wrong, I apologise. But can you just because we do have VAR here. We can go back and have a look. So, that I've always fancied with our top four, as you know. Oh, Craig Lee's here again. What's he got this time? Spurs have one way to play, no plan B. They're easy to play against, leave no space behind, and pop balls over their high line. They're going to struggle this year. Well, as I say, I thought when they got Solanke, that would make a big difference to their side, and I think it will as well. So let's judge them when Solanke's fit.
Absolutely.
GTFL. Pope dives to his. No, isn't this interesting? Because how many people have been on here saying, I think you included, Gary, if I'm not mistaken, that Dubs struggles down to his right.
That's right.
Struggles down to his right.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to have the athleticism to his right hand side than he does to his left. Now with Pope, yesterday, I was looking at Pope when he dived to his left. Now remember, it's Pope's left shoulder that's weak. And yesterday, it looked like he hadn't got the confidence to dive. And to be fair, he didn't need to dive to his left because the ball come into his chest area. And that's why I couldn't understand why he decided to push it away rather than catch it or attempt to catch it. Because even if it had dropped the ball, there was nobody close to him that would have tapped in the rebound. But with him pushing it to his left, allowed them then to obviously knock the ball back into the 6-yard box. So I don't know whether that's still confidence with his left shoulder or not.
Yeah, so then we've got Tripp's going to be important for us this season. Great experience, Flo. Really glad he's still here. Me too. Gary, our accent is all over the place, mate.
Yeah, I know. It will be. I'm back home now. I'm back in the Midlands.
Viking, apart from the assist, Murphy was dog awful. Played 29 minutes, of which we didn't have possession for 60% of it. So 14 minutes, he gave the ball away 8 times. Yeah, you're kind of spinning the stats to back your own narrative there, Beer. I think. Let's assume he did sort of that the run and assist. But Barnes had a very similar opportunity in the first half when Longstaff, of all people, put a beautiful ball through to him, and he didn't have the pace to get on the end of it. And if Barnes had still been on, he wouldn't have had the pace to get onto that one that Murphy did get onto, which resulted in the goal. So I'm going to take that all day long. And it keeps on adding to these remarkable stats that Murphy's got in terms of goals and assists per minute played. He was top of the tree in the whole Prem last season. Which I'm like you, I find it hard to believe, but the stats speak for themselves. Who have we got next? Oh, back on the Craft and Burn, solid defenders, but they are very limited in terms of technical ability, passing. Well, technical ability and passing qualities. Here we hit the nub of the problem, as far as I'm concerned, with Newcastle at the minute. Ball retention all season so far in the middle of the park has been atrocious. And I'm really, really hopeful that bringing Tonali into that position is going to increase our possession and passing ability exponentially. Because right now, it's dogs. It really is. And the number of times we were giving the ball away in dangerous positions yesterday. Bruno, prime culprit 3 times. Isaac twice. You cannot do this against top teams and get away with it. So that's the one thing that we need. You see them pre-match, they do their little fancy circles with that intricate fast passing, but they're just not replicating it on the pitch. It's the ball sometimes it's like a hot potato. Oh, especially God bless him, Longstaff. The number of times he puts Bruno into trouble with a rushed pass that isn't just quite there, which means Bruno is slightly off balance when he's getting it. So then he has to try one of his 180s to retain the ball because he's got somebody coming in at him, and then he gets dispossessed, goes down, and doesn't get the foul, and that's just a man down as well because he's still on the deck. Somebody needs to have a word.
Yeah, I just thought while we're on there, our second goal yesterday, I just wanted to highlight.
You've gone very quiet there, Gary, for some reason.
Have I? I don't know why. Is it you lagging? Let us know in the chat if I've gone quiet. If you look at this setup, I'm going to bring it up a little bit. What you've got here is what I was saying. J7 yesterday, I mean, Hall's on the pitch at this point, and Anthony Gordon's a little bit further upfield here. So J7 occupies this space, this half space between Anthony Gordon, who obviously hasn't got the legs yet to track back. So this is where you saw J7 a lot of the times yesterday. And you've got Hall a bit further out of camera at the minute, and this is where the ball goes back to. And what you get then, usually what you would have, this here is Kraft. You've got Tonali and you've got Bruno in the middle, both making forward runs, expecting the ball to progress up to Anthony Gordon. But yesterday, what happens was imagine this was Shaw would have found himself in this space here to get the ball and move the ball forwards to one of these guys. This is where sometimes we fall down, and it happened to us a couple of times yesterday, and that's when the game gets turned and we are backtracking a little bit because we've got two guys here, as obviously as well as J7 out the picture at the minute, that allows a lot of space to become available to 4 potential attackers that can overturn the ball. But yesterday it worked in our favour, and I'm just going to play it forward, and we'll keep going, and then we'll stop it. I just want to keep the sound off so you can hear us. So you can see him. He picks the ball up, then he backs, and then he's looking for an option. But because these two have gone further up the field, this space here there's nobody in it. There's absolutely nobody here that he could square a ball to, which in turn works in our advantage. So he goes back to Hall, then back to Byrne, who then he just turns that half turn. And as you can see, if we'd have lost that ball there, the chances of us conceding was sky high. This half turn of yard here now allows the likes of Murphy and Isaac the space to get into, but it's all on the time of the pass. Bang, and you're through. And that's unfortunate. What they were doing there, which we didn't do yesterday at all, was the high line. When we were defensive, we defended definitely in a unit, but it was definitely a low block in the defensive line. And even on that little bit of a sequence there, you saw, and if I go back a touch.
I don't think we're better, Gary.
Well, this is a Newcastle one, so it's not so bad. As you can see, when the ball goes back to him, the only player making this run here, which would have usually been Shaw, was J7. Nobody else. Tonali didn't drop into it. Again, Bruno didn't drop into it. They stayed on the halfway line to keep their midfielders out the way. And then what you got then was that little bit of a turn of space and that little triangles. Byrne knew exactly what was coming. And obviously, Maddison then on the press was easy to turn. And then that's got us on the way. And well done, Jacob Murphy, for not being selfish and having to go himself. he guaranteed the lads score and got us 2 points. So I just wanted to highlight that because it just proved how different we were yesterday compared to last season, where we were very much on the front foot, and that would have been halfway up the field then. Our back line would have been where GA7 was last season.
All right, we'll just go back to the comments a bit, Gary.
Yeah, crack on, mate.
BV saying Mighty Win had Palace finishing top 6. No, Mighty Win didn't. Mighty Win said that if Palace could have hung on to Lessie, Gay, which they have done, by the way, obviously, Ezzy, who was talked about going, then I said they'd be contenders. Because, I mean, they had 4 of the England squad in that team. You know, I didn't forget Wharton as well. They've got a quality team and they've added to it. But the fact that they've got rid of their best winger to Bayern Munich kind of negates that. Now then, Craig is saying, get your receipts. So Craig is obviously saying that he didn't, that he wasn't one of the glass half empties. Where's the other one gone? Oh, I've lost it. I look forward to your apology. As I said when I made the statement, Craig, if it wasn't you, I apologise. But I just had a little sneaky feeling that it was. But we'll check the receipts. David Knight, such a shame. Pope is so awful with his feet. He was decent with his feet. He'd be one of the best, world's best. Our next goalkeeper has to be good with his feet to keep possession. It's so important. And there's Queenie in the chat. And Craig, our wingers are too close to the midfield. Loads of times yesterday, the midfield were looking for a forward path. Both wingers were in line with midfield and need to stretch the pitch to make space. And listening, we need Gordon and Isaac back to last season's level soon. Bond has looked pretty impressive, though. Long may that continue. Indeed, I think if you can imagine that performance yesterday, but with both Gordon and Isaac at their best, what a team! What a team! Which is what I'm expecting. You know, I think they will get back to that bit. But just how I look like, Isaac will get injured playing for Sweden, and Gordon will get injured playing for England, and we'll be back to square one.
Yeah. Just going on, like, I know Beer's obviously talking about Murphy and a couple of passes that Murphy did put back under pressure, I suppose, especially the one in the right back position where Murphy come deep to support Tino. What happened then was Tino had picked the ball up on the right hand side of our penalty area, and he passed the ball into Murphy, and Murphy literally, and again, it's more of a relationship between player and player. And I think what you got from Murphy was if he was playing with Kieran Trippier, Kieran wouldn't have done his dash around the back. He would have just sat back to collect the ball and then go long again. With Murphy, then he tried to just drop the ball back to Tino, but Tino again, being his aggressive manner, he wanted to get up the field to cover the space that Murphy had obviously relinquished coming deep. So Tino had done the overlap, but unfortunately, Murphy had got it in his mind that he was just going to go like a give and go, one touch football, and then he was going to make the move to give Tino space to drop into.
Yeah.
And then
there was a very similar thing happened between Murphy and Isaac. And Isaac passed it back, expecting to give and go. And Murphy had already made the run.
Absolutely. And I think that's the problem.
Complete miscommunication. Just incidentally, Barry, I'm just in the background, I've got the match on again. And we're in the 86th minute. And just to back up what you were saying, Trips, we've got a corner. Gordon's taking the corner. And Trips is up at that corner flag.
Yeah.
spouting results, instructions to Gordon.
Yeah.
It's
amazing, honestly. All day long,
anybody
I
who
watched
says
him.
he doesn't care about the club anymore is totally wrong.
Yeah. And that's what I said. You've got to give credit where credit's due, even for a player that's not involved at all in the game. He was as constructive as he possibly could, even though every time the referee looked at him or the linesman looked at him, he put his hands behind his back and he'd pretend to stretch out. Amazing to watch. And you noticed another thing yesterday, which I'd noticed a couple of times, where Mad Dog and Eddie, where they usually do their conflab within the confines of the square. It was more one-on-one yesterday.
Well, they're
Eddie
not
was
allowed.
sat
They're
down.
both not allowed in the box at the same time now, of
No, I
course.
know,
But
but they still brought they still do it.
no, well,
But
the main thing I noticed yesterday was that Eddie was in the. It must have been while, because I didn't notice this actually during the match.
Yeah.
But having watched it now 3 or 4 times, every time the cameras go to the dugout, Eddie is sitting on his honkers
with the analyst,
with somebody who I don't recognise, looking at that little lap PC thing, iPad or whatever it is, and there's no sign of Jason Tyndall. Normally the two of them are together, but I can only assume Tyndall must be actually been in the box, in the box they're allowed to be in. And Eddie was sitting with us, and as you probably rightly say, he must be the analyst.
Yeah.
Because I don't recognise him as one of the coaching staff. So, I was just thinking, God, I hope there's no going on in the background between Mad Dog and Eddie. I can't imagine there would be for a second.
No.
But
Yeah,
it
when
just
Mad
looked
Dog
strange. You
was
get
in the
so used to
dugout.
seeing the two of them together.
Yeah.
When they're not together, you think, oh, what's up here?
Yeah, it was more evident yesterday that they were both literally in looking at the technical stuff. Again, from this analyst, so I can only assume he's an analyst. And then what was happening was Eddie would come out and shout instructions, obviously what he'd seen or certain things that Tottenham were doing, and then he'd go and sit down, and then Mad Dog would come out and he'd do exactly the same. He'd be barking instructions in certain parts. But like I said, it's still not clicking for me. Whatever they're obviously trying in the training ground isn't quite clicking yet as a team, and it's evident in the last 3 games. You've seen it. But like I said, we're still unbeaten, and we're unbeaten not playing well. So when this team clicks, it's onwards and upwards for me. I think it's the one thing that does worry me, though, I don't know whether you've seen it, Win, was what Eddie was saying about the lads that he'd got available yesterday, even on the bench, were the team that was fit. So obviously now we've got Willock out for potentially 4 weeks with this muscle tear. This is obviously what he was saying that had popped in his leg. Obviously, we know about Lewis Miley with his foot, and he's not going to be available until probably October now. But obviously, we know about Lascelles and the rest of them. But for me now, the best thing to come from this is that the fact that like Fraser's finally gone, so he's off the books altogether now.
But think about this, Gary. Yesterday, Isaac wasn't having the best of games, couldn't hold the ball up, so we couldn't get out of our half. Imagine if we'd had Wilson to fetch off the bench then.
Absolutely.
And now he's going to be fit after the break. The next game we play, Wilson is going to be on the bench. And what a difference that would have made yesterday. It wouldn't have surprised me at all if Wilson had come off the bench and scored.
No, absolutely.
Wishful thinking, yes, of course it is. But, again, I'm so pleased that he happened to be injured, so there wasn't the temptation for anybody to come and nick him off.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the other thing you've got to ask is obviously Man City's not far away now. The home game against Man City. Are they now setting up for that type of game where you're going to have a team, regardless of how um, attacking you are, attack minded you are, like we've seen in the past? These guys are very good in possession of the ball and can get round you quite comfortably. Are they now more of a fact that they need to work together as a team, looking ahead, knowing full well that we've still got the ability to beat teams? I don't know.
Well,
I
I
don't
tell you
know.
what, let's worry about Fulham, Wimbledon, and Wolves
And Wolves,
before we
absolutely.
start thinking about Man City,
Well,
because
well, well. Don't
who
forget
knows?
against
By the
Wolves.
time we play Man City, we could be top of the league if
Woo,
they inadvertently drop a couple of points and Liverpool drop a couple of points.
absolutely.
Because
It,
I don't see any reason why we can't beat Fulham and Wolves. I mean, you know, away wins in the Prem are few and far between. We know that. But I think we've got a better team than both Wolves and Fulham. So who knows where we could be when we actually do play Man City. Top of the
did
table
you?
clash.
Obviously, we didn't get chance.
Can you
We
imagine
weren't
the
in the
atmosphere?
ground.
You were there yesterday, but I tell you what, if we are first and second in the league when we play Man City, you'll have seen nothing like the atmosphere that'll be in that stadium.
Oh no, I know
It
that'll be
will
crazy.
be
That.
immense.
Um, it was just like we didn't get to the ground for kickoff yesterday because obviously we were still uh, drinking a few beers, and that 10 minutes makes all the difference, as you correctly said when we arrived at the ground. So we didn't see the war flags thing for Tenali, but by all accounts, it was uh, it was quite a nice reception. Let's just say
Yeah.
that
But
for
it wasn't as
because
spectacular as I thought it was going to
no, it
be, though.
wasn't. It wasn't, and that's what I said. It was.
From what we'd been told in the bar when we were talking to various season ticket holders in the Gallagher end, and they'd all had emails from the club which had instructions from war flags as to what to do, and so we were kind of expecting that they must all have some sort of individual plaque on their seat, which they were going to have to raise or lower in, on a certain queue. But it actually wasn't. It was just two banners. That none of the seat holders would have had anything to do with, really. So I was a bit puzzled with all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was. It was. I mean, I've got a little pic that I was just going to put up because, like I said, I don't know whether disappointed was a thing because, like I said, I'd wanted to get in there just to kick off, and we obviously chatting away to fans, we got carried away with the time, and like I say, by the time we'd queued up to get in to the ground, we'd missed the kickoff. But just in case people hadn't witnessed it before the start of the game, I'm just going to bring it up on the screen now. This is obviously a little bit of a thing because apparently he was quite emotional, to say the least. The midfield maestro from Milano. But like I said, I mean, he didn't pull up any
And the other
strings when he.
thing there, which is interesting, bearing in mind that Yasser was in the stand, which you're not showing there, but to the left of that was the Amanda Maydad banner,
The banner, yeah,
the
exactly.
big one,
Uh,
and
the,
that to me was quite telling.
yeah,
That was war flags giving a message to Yasser, the
well,
chairman who'd flown over for the game, saying, well, we did better when these two were here.
yeah. You see, I'm with David. I think it would have been nice to have seen Asula at some point yesterday to
And
try and get the
it did
ball
look
over
as
the
though he
top
was
of
going to
them.
come on at one point as well.
It did, yeah, it did. But like I said, it was a shame it didn't happen. But what I did like about this when I saw it, and I'm trying desperately to find it, was the Paul Dummett tale about the Weatherspoons. Because obviously when he asked what
Oh
pub he
yeah,
could take his missus to, and Paul Dummett sent him to the Weatherspoons, somebody in the crowd had made the flag with the obviously the table at Weatherspoons, and it had put up if you want to go to a pub, come to such and such Weatherspoons table reserved for Tenali at 7:30 or something, which was really funny. But no, I thought that was a lovely touch. To be fair, I thought that was. A canny start of the game.
yeah,
Unfortunately, like I say, we missed it in live, but that was what it was. It wasn't fantastic, but like I said, it was pretty good.
yeah. Very spicy from War Flag.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I'm just having a quick look because obviously now Jamal Lewis has gone to Brazil. Um,
Yeah, how strange is that one?
I don't know how if I can say it's not going to benefit us at all because obviously we're still playing the lads'
It's not going to
wages.
benefit us, but
Um,
I just think it's weird.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Uh,
I tell you what stat was weird, and I'm going to put it up because this is gonna be funny. Because there's a lot of people still point fingers at this lad. I'm just going to put it up on the screen, and this is a little table that just gives you some idea where this
the
lad
other
is.
14.
Right, so this is the most headed duels won in week 3, and obviously you've got all yeah, you expect the likes of DCL to be up there, but look who's here,
Yeah,
Sean
yeah, 3 out
Longstaff.
of 3 yesterday.
Yeah, there you go. Um, so like I said, you can't say even, and again, I watched him for I would say 3/4 of the game yesterday. The runs that lad does throughout the game that goes unnoticed when you're watching from the
Oh,
TV is unreal. You know what I mean? It is unreal. He does a lot of
yeah,
unselfish
yeah,
work.
but where are the runs to?
It's about opening space, mate. That's what I keep saying. Now look at
No, it's
look at the
about running
goal.
away from players you're supposed to be marking.
Well, okay, then what? Like I just said to you just there, when you had the run of
I would love to watch a
Tonali
90-minute
and
match with
Bruno,
you and
when,
I
when
wish
when
I'd
you
done that
just
yesterday.
looked
I
at,
wish I'd got Chris to swap with you.
yeah,
I
yeah, when
never
you
thought
when you
about it till it was too late. I was going to swap at half time, but I couldn't find you.
well, I must have walked straight past you when I went to the other bar because I remember you saying meet us there at that one bar, and I walked past there, and I must have I don't know whether somebody was stood in front of you or what, but I walked to the other bar, and I got a beer from there. So I don't know, I
Uh,
don't know. Um, but I mean, for me, it's like I said. You look at the likes of yesterday, Tonali and Bruno making again them selfish runs or unselfish runs that create space for J7 to pick the ball up in the middle of the park and then put the ball through to Murphy to go on and get the winner. And that's what I said. A lot of the work that the lad does is unseen. I'll tell you now. And for me, yesterday he put a couple of really good challenges in. He certainly didn't have a bad game yesterday. But to be fair, there's not a lot else of any note to talk about really, apart from
well, it's
like I
just
said
Davy T stating the obvious that it was me dodging the round.
in actual fact, I think I owe you one. Um, we were sinking them quite quick yesterday. To be fair, for people to keep up, I think especially I owe you Chris one because unfortunately my ride home had appeared at the top of the road as Chris got the next round in. Um, and I apologise for that because I didn't. I never like leaving beer behind. Um, But we
Yeah,
did.
that
I
was
did
it.
come home the way
That
you
was an
said.
interesting one that Alan McMurray saying Gary Neville talking about Newcastle, and he was on our side saying PSR needs to change and the Prem needs to take the thumb off our neck
It does
and
absolutely.
let PIF invest.
There was a really good. I'm trying to remember where I saw it now. I read it this morning, and it was somebody that's obviously, I would say, involved with Newcastle at some to some description. But it was more the fact that they were talking about um, the worry that the top four have. Um, with us being obviously on their coattails, I suppose. You have two different ways of looking at the PSR situation, and like Eddie Howe was saying, like he has very little to do with the buying and selling of clubs, but he has obviously information about what he can afford and what he can't afford when it comes to um, buying or purchasing players. And for me, the one thing that reading that article and like I say, if I find it this afternoon, we'll talk about it this evening. There's somebody having making some real good looks at the top four sides now, obviously the big six, and the effect that it's not only had on us but the likes of Aston Villa, where we are having to sell or part exchange, if that's what you want to say, some of your
Huh?
youngsters to make the ceiling of the PSR, and how it's destroying teams that are trying to compete with the top four. And it was really interesting read. So if I manage to find it, I will talk about it tonight.
Well,
But from
the one thing that I'm taking from all this, you know, the European Super League contenders, if you like. So that's our top six and all the rest. So they've more or less forced UEFA to change the Champions League so that they're getting more games and specifically more games against one another. And that's great because that's going to pile our revenue on. Or is it? That's a big question mark because I'm not so sure that the games have the glamour that they've got if they happen more regularly.
yeah.
But it also means that they're playing more games in Europe, which is going to have a detriment. It can't possibly help them playing in their domestic leagues. So
Yeah.
again, the one big advantage we've got this season, which is another of the reasons why I am so positive, is the fact that we haven't got Europe. Tottenham, Villa, who you could argue are our kind of direct competitors, they've got Europe this year. We haven't. The big six have all got Europe, thanks to Manchester winning the cup. We haven't. So that can only be to our advantage. It also means, come January, we don't have to be bothered about signing a player who's cup tied because we're not in any of the cups. Whereas if they were looking to improve their squads, the top six, if they're still involved in Europe, which they probably all will be, they've got to think about who they can possibly sign that's going to help them in the league, but also in Europe, if they're already cup tied, which they should be, if they're quality players, they are going to be cup tied. So it gives us kind of an open run at certain players as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it sounds very much like there was with the chairman coming across yesterday for the game, and there was definitely a meeting of some sorts going on behind the scenes with the board. But obviously, Ruben put his Twitter on and just said that's how um, how pleased he was. And this is what he wrote: "So proud of that result today. We have a brilliant manager. group of players, and together with management, ownership is committed to delivering the highest level of football at NUFC. For our supporters who give up so much of their time and money to support this great football club, there will always be bumps along that road, but we are one united team in our pursuit of that ambition. So I think um, it's definitely something that they're obviously there talking about, um, and according to the reports, uh, Yasser,
We've got
Asma
Peter
Razik,
McCardle.
and
I don't know whether he sits in that stand or whatever, but Mitchell and Eales seemed very sheepish when they were
they
sitting
were
next to the chairman.
They were. There was one. It was really funny because Darren Eales was looking at his phone. One of the photographs I saw was Darren Eales looking at his phone, looking really somber in mood, um, considering we were 1-0 up at the time, uh, and, and and somebody had put a little note underneath saying "taxi for Eales," as if he'd just had a bit of a rollicking by the looks of it. Um, but in the Newcastle world, there's a little article in there that they're talking about who was there at the ground yesterday, and that was obviously Yasser. There was a gentleman called Asma Razik and Jacobo Solis with attendance of the obviously the Spurs win and heading to the dressing room at full time, admitting that there was going to be some type of catch up with the whole of the team, as well as, like I say, the backroom staff after the game yesterday. But obviously, there's nothing else reported on that meeting. So as soon as we hear something, and like I said, it might be just them coming over and obviously trying to find out what happened and where the club were, where at the point of the end of the transfer window and why there was decisions not to go into the market and buy. Like I said, there's obviously a lot of things still happening behind the scenes that we're just totally unaware of. But it's certainly, as you can see from what Jamie Rubin has put down there, it's not all doom and gloom. Um,
No,
and
well,
obviously they've
the transfer window is over and gone. Shocking, shocking, shocking. Except, as I said, that we kept the crown jewels, and that was by no means certain at one stage.
yeah.
So,
And I think that's it, isn't it? I mean, like I said, you've got to. I mean, what did you say yesterday about Trippier going to Turkey? It's A up sport,
hey up, sport! Hey up, sport!
A up sport. And again,
I just couldn't see it happening. I couldn't see them
well,
allowing it.
yeah, they've played it down anyway. Um, and
They've played
I'm
it
just
down.
looking
Sorry,
at
have they made some statement or something?
Eddie did in his post-match chat. He said, like, what's the chance of Trippier going to this Turkish side? And he he said, for me, he's still a Newcastle player, and I want him to remain at the club.
All right.
He has, but that's Eddie Howe all over, isn't it?
I mean,
He
bottom
doesn't.
line is, if Trips want to go, he'll go with my blessing. But looking at his antics yesterday on the touchline and things, does that look to you like a player who wants to go? Mm-mm.
No, not at all. Uh,
Certainly not to
uh,
some Turkish team that's just got promoted. Although there's a correlation there between the situation they are in and the situation we are in, because they just got promoted last season and they're sitting second in the league.
in the league. Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's like I said. I mean, I was sat like next to a lad who was obviously a massive Isak fan, and the lad couldn't put a foot wrong. And there was me, like obviously, whenever the ball just didn't stick, I'd criticise, and he was. I said to myself, I'm not being obviously overcritical. I says, but his role is Isak's role for me, leading the line at the top, is as important as Pope in goal. And if one of them don't work, it just applies more pressure on the team across the park.
yeah.
And that's what I said. it's really funny how everybody sees the game totally differently. And like I say, I don't always watch the ball. And like I said, I did miss our second goal, as daft it looks, because I was watching the build up. And then right at the top, I saw the goal go into the net, but I hadn't got a clue for a couple of minutes, well, for a couple of seconds, who'd actually scored it, because I was trying to feel where the back line was working. And like I said, it was so noticeable that Eddie's got a tactic against certain teams, and he's going to manipulate that tactic to suit and try and ground out results this year rather than actually going out there and taking the opposition to task. So I
Well,
think it's
I
going to be
mean,
a
Craig Hope, God bless him, and he does his merit marks when he does his post-match vlog sort of thing, and he had Isaac as his one-star guy, third best player on the pitch, and I don't know, he got a
yeah.
goal which was virtually a tap-in that Murphy had provided. He had to be there. Yeah. That's it. That's his job. But other than that, and the sort of half effort that he had early doors,
Yeah, when he got tackled.
yeah, which was or wasn't a penalty. I don't think it was, but never mind.
No.
Um,
But I mean, like I said,
he
he did
just
show
could not
glimpses.
he could not hold the ball.
Yeah,
He
you
had
could.
he had a few of his lovely little runs, which we love to
That's
see.
exactly right. I mean, I'll give him
Uh,
a 7. So I said I wasn't harsh on the lad because he did do one or two things really well. He just didn't do enough for me trying to hold the ball up and bring the players out from a defensive situation. And I
well,
think that's
I
what he
gave him
could
a 6
learn.
last night because of the 3 occasions in which he put us under pressure when he had dropped back to the halfway line, trying to play a 1-2 and getting it completely wrong. I've
Yeah.
watched those again this morning, and I don't know what he was thinking. Well, I don't know what. One of them was just a misunderstanding between him and Murphy was on by then at the time. No, sorry, man, it was Tino. He was expecting a give and go, and they were both expecting give and go. So they both ran and just left the ball more or less to the Tottenham player to go into our box.
Yeah. So it comes to something though. You're talking about like team and how the team is now shaping up. We've obviously got less of a team now than we did at the start of the window because obviously we've now released 13 players and only bought 6 in. So the team, when you look at players as a squad, is very, very. I wouldn't say threadbare, but obviously, it's what it's given us. He's got rid of the players that were never going to feature for the first team, and now you've got in players that are obviously still quite junior, but have more of a chance of supporting the bench. I know it doesn't impact on the 11, but it gives us a bit more of, for me, a little bit of quality in depth. Where yesterday, as you saw, we made changes throughout the team, and certain changes made an impact. Certain changes didn't make that much of an impact. Um, and but it doesn't lessen the squad. That's what I'm trying to say. Where last year we didn't have that luxury, did we? I know we could with all the injuries and everything else, but there was certainly nobody on the bench that could come in and impact the squad and try and change the game. And that was the difference that I've seen. But I was surprised to get rid of 13 players this year.
Well,
So
as you say, it was more or less 13 players that were never ever going to figure. Possibly Dummett would have had a couple of games. Richie,
Richie
maybe,
may have had, yeah, come on as a
but
sub
but
at some point.
after that, pretty much. David Knight there saying Isaac was awful yesterday. My mates who aren't Newcastle fans messaged me saying, "What's going on with Isaac? He looks awful."
Yeah.
Yeah,
There was a few of them though. Like I said, it's just not clicking at the minute, and we've
yeah. Well,
seen it from the start of the
and
season.
Gordon definitely haven't found their stride yet.
Not at all.
And
Not
it
at all.
just,
Way off.
it just all goes. And Bruno, by the way, Bruno hasn't been his brilliant best. He had one exceptional game, of course, But, you know, when they do all start clicking again, and we know that they will eventually, at least I believe they will eventually, then, you know, let's look forward to some fireworks. Some more 4s and 5s and 6s.
Indeed.
That was an interesting point, by the way, that Jamie made on the show last night for anybody who wasn't watching. We have now,
I was on the way back.
We have now drawn 1-1 with, this is in the Premiership era, we've drawn 1-1 with Spurs. We've beat them 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, and 7-1. Is there any other team that's beaten any other team by every one of those scores from 1 to 7? And we don't think there is. But if you know better, folks, come and let us know.
Did you do the last few starred win? Davy T has put down, I don't see disharmony with the players.
Oh, yeah, sorry, we did do that one.
You've done that one. And I say, thankfully, the footage in the tunnel shows that.
Michael, and the going into the dressing, the club footage of them going into the dressing room with Callum Wilson there on the door, giving them all hugs.
Absolutely. And this one just confirming. Obviously, Michael saw exactly what I saw. I think we set up that way. Spurs are a good team. Our defence is vulnerable, and we put a block in on the counter. J7 was playing left back.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, it was interesting to see him do that because, like I say, again that was just supporting Harvey Barnes dropping back, or even Anthony Gordon dropping and supporting Hall or Kelly when they were playing. Clouds, Kraft and Byrne were solid defenders. Did you did this one? But they are very limited in terms of technical ability. You've done that one. I think we've covered everything then. I've got no more news, guys. So anything from yourself?
Not a lot.
You've done, obviously, you've mentioned Jamie and the Mag, which is what you asked me to remind you of.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that we need to discuss before we say
no?
goodbye?
I think
we are back on.
I'm going to get back. I'm going to watch this match all over again, as is my wont on a Monday.
Absolutely. Interesting to see Tino get a call up, isn't it? Tino and Pope get a call up for the
that's what I'm saying.
England
1
jerseys.
out, 1 in.
Absolutely, and I think that's good.
Well, I was having a right old banter on the blog last night with Connor and with Dominic, Toon Talk and Dominic.
Yeah.
Saying that we should be playing attacking wing backs. Go back to about midnight. It went on for ages, and then Connor put on, or one of them put on two teams showing with wing backs when we're attacking and with wing backs when we're defending. But on the very teams that he had set up, he only had one winger. He had full Gordon and Isaac up top. And what I was saying from the outset in the whole thread was, you can only play with out and out attacking wing backs if that is your plan. If that is the basis of your team play, yes, you can do that. And yes, then you want the two best attacking wing backs you've got, and don't worry about their defensive qualities. The point is, to do that, you need a number 6, because you've got to have the 6 who drops back with the back 2 to form a back 3, with the 2 centre backs to form a back 3. And Eddie Howe has said time and time again, he doesn't want to play with a 6. So Eddie's tactics is 4-3-3 with 3 number 8s effectively, which means that at least one of those fullbacks has to be a proper defender. And to me, that's a fullback, unless you're going to change your plan completely and base all of your tactics around attacking fullbacks, one of them has to be a good defender. And with Tino and Hall at the current stage of their development, I don't believe that either of them are sufficiently competent defenders to go all-out attack with their wing-backs.
I don't think Eddie will ever play wing-backs, to be fair,
No,
even though it gives you the option.
neither do I. So that's all I'm saying.
But that's what I
Tino,
said. He plays
as I said, Tino is the more advanced of the two, partly because of his age, obviously, and also because of his experience, having virtually a full season at Southampton. And that's reflected in their England careers. Tino's been called up for the full squad. Lewis Hall's been called up for the under-21s. So then somebody said, so are you denigrating Lewis Hall because he's not at all. I'm over the moon that Lewis Hall's been called up for the under-21s, because that is the stage of his career that he's at.
Absolutely.
And Eddie, he's not quite rightly, in my opinion, last season, didn't just throw him on because he knew he wasn't ready. And he's brought him in slowly but surely, which accounts for yesterday why he played Kelly instead of Hall, because he wanted a more defensive fullback. So it's an interesting read if you want to read it on the WhatsApp group, WhatsApp forum.
It was surprising to me to listen to some supporters who said that, when Kelly went up there and crossed the ball to Barnes, it wasn't a cross to Barnes specific or per se. It was just a cross into the box. Now, I've often said in the past, the reasons why the likes of Longstaff gets lots of goals because he sneaks into the penalty spot area, because it's always a hole that's void, because all the defenders go to the 6-yard box expecting a hard drilled cross or a high cross to the back stick. So they try and block it off. But very few defenders stay back into what I call the no man's zone, where the penalty spot is.
Yeah.
And that's where the likes of Longstaff picks up a lot of his goals from there.
And you watch a lot of Premiership goals, a lot are scored by that pullback. You're getting them and pulling it back at a diagonal, as opposed to a lot are scored by playing the perfect ball into the gap just in front of the goalie, but a lot more are scored from shots in and around the actual box itself. The white line of the box with players running on to those. Happens time and time again. So that's a great place to put the ball in. And absolutely. Well done, Kelly, for so doing.
Yeah, I thought he had a really steady game yesterday. I didn't think he put a foot wrong, really. Like I said, he was solid when he needed to be, and he played the ball along the ground neatly. He didn't give any of the balls away, really. I thought, like I said, I don't think anybody on the team had a bad game per se, apart from, like I say, number one keeper and the top of the shop, and they didn't really have stickers. They had situations that I wouldn't say cost us, anything, but it would have made our job a lot easier if they've both done their jobs correctly. That's all I'm saying. And like I said, when you back off and the one thing that Kelly does, and Niles just added it there. There was one where Kelly likes he likes for the attacker to make the decision before he tackles. And sometimes what happens with that, he can backtrack into his own box a little bit too easily. But he's the type of defender that allows the player in front of him to make a decision rather than lunge forward and get beaten by the opposition player who's put you on your backside. I'd rather have a player that stands on his feet all day, as long as he can block. And like I said, there's always going to be times where, like against Bournemouth, he did exactly the same, and the ball come across, and the lad at the back stick had a tap in. But you can't blame Kelly for that. at the end of the day, he was just doing his job. He's making that player make a decision. The player then decided to cross the ball, and unfortunately, the lads at the back stick didn't really get into the into the game and was lost at the back stick. So let's see. Let's see going forward, because, like I say, for me, it was a good result. Lads did the job, and
Great result.
as of yet, undefeated, and that's all you can ask from the lads. So anyway, from again, we're on this evening 9 or 10 win. I haven't
10, I
looked.
believe.
10 o'clock.
Anyway, if you press the bell, you'll find out. Hit the bell notification.
Yeah, exactly. And don't
you'll
forget to hit
find
the
out
likes,
exactly
guys.
when we're on.
Exactly. All right, and that's it. Thanks everybody for giving us the chat and everything else. And like I say, you're right, Davey. Probably by the time I have the show this evening, I shall be back as a brummy.
The brummy,
because,
as a
like I
Jody
said,
Yam Yam.
yeah, it will be hammered out of me for the rest of the day. I guarantee it. And like I said, it is one of them. And there's nothing else in the chat that I can see. Darren Lee's put there, Burn Pope mess up for the OG. Yeah.
Got a weird one here. Kraft should start with Shea. What?
No. Well, Cher has played left centre back in the past, but I'm not sure that will ever happen. But it's lovely to see now that Kraft is starting to perform as that right centre back support for Shaw. So, do we need to go out there and spend all that money on another?
Like I say, if we'd spent 40 million on Kraft and he'd performed like he's performed the last few games, everybody would be saying, "My, what a bargain we've got here! He's one of the best centre backs in the league, and we've got him for now." Dog. Guaranteed that would have happened if we'd actually bought him in the window.
Absolutely, interesting. So again, guys, thanks ever so much for your participation in today's chat. Like I said, there's not very little news, but we just thought we'd add on to obviously try and discuss the game in a little bit more of an understanding of how Eddie's trying to work out those tactics. If anybody's still struggling with the way we play, because like I said, everybody sees the games totally differently. I had lads to the left and right of me yesterday that were seeing it differently to me because I wasn't watching the game progress. I was just watching where the back line was and then working from the midfield up. So everybody sees the game differently, and that's the beauty of football. It's all about opinions, and opinions matter.
Indeed.
And like I said, from myself and Win.
And as long as you know my opinion's the right one, everybody will get on.
Everybody's happy. Absolutely, everybody's happy. But like I said, thanks ever so much. Everybody. Don't forget to smash the likes. I'll see you later on this evening.
Take care, everybody. How are the lads?
And lasses.